Hello, everyone, and welcome to Edusations. I'm your host, Phil Strunk, joined by a very special guest today, one of my favorite educators, the love of my life.
Laura Beth Strunk.
Go ahead and introduce yourself to the viewers.
Hi, I'm originally from Frederick County, Maryland, but I now teach in Frederick County, Virginia, and I teach first grade, and this is my 5th year teaching first grade.
Yeah, so this is what year teaching first grade again? Just for
This is 5th.
5th year teaching first grade. LB and I have these conversations a lot. I'm a middle school educator. She's an elementary school educator. And I cannot imagine doing the things that you do with some of these kids. So thinking about this and recognizing that we have a lot of new teachers that watch this show, and we have a lot of elementary school teachers that watch this show too. What have you learned in your first 5 years?
I've learned a lot. Sometimes I often tell other teachers too, I kind of feel bad for that first year, your first class, because I'm sure they don't get as much as me as this year's class does after I've learned some things. But teaching elementary school, you really have to be intentional about giving yourself breaks. So you're just coming home, taking a minute to process, because it is a long day when you have all the same kids all day. And so sometimes they really kind of need your space to be able to just give them what they need. And so just building those relationships which is what all educators do. But I'm really intentional. I use Class Dojo throughout the day. Mm-hmm. And so looking to see, okay, who has points right now? Who needs some more encouragement? So just making sure that I'm trying to connect with all of my students throughout the day, since it can be a long day for the students who struggle, or just making sure that I'm encouraging them throughout the day and giving them some brain breaks, since we're all in the same room all together.
Yeah, so LB, you spoke to a concept, an idea, I guess, that I have a hard time particularly processing, and that is you have the same kids all day. I see my kids 86 minutes every other day. What do you do to kind of make sure that the class doesn't get boring, or to keep them with you or on your side with you whenever you're learning?
Yeah, well, definitely with the same kids, they do get tired of each other. So you can tell before Christmas break, they're ready to have their own space. They're ready not to deal with the same kids every day. But we take a lot of brain breaks. We use Go Noodle throughout the day. Mm-hmm. And we also do Teacher Says. That's one of my favorites and their favorite. So, Teacher Says, do whatever different activities, and that just gives them a break from thinking and just more oxygen to their brain, which helps them think. Yeah. So brain breaks are definitely an integral part of that.
Yeah, brain breaks you using that with your elementary school kids have inspired me to think about how can I use that for my middle schoolers. I don't know if anybody's watching this that's a middle school educator, but if you've not tried the extension Move It, it's really good for all different grade levels. Really awesome way to incorporate some movement and just some pause. You can decide what interval you want to break it in. Really love giving students that opportunity to just kind of and decompress a little bit. It's nice.
Which as adults we need as well.
So. Right. Sometimes we just need to breathe, right?
Yeah.
Or do 10 jumping jacks going up and down at the same time too. I don't know what I was trying to say there. Also talked about Class Dojo. How do you use Class Dojo? There's a lot of teachers that use it different ways. How do you discern what earns like a positive point, something that you're really impressed by, versus maybe just an expectation or an expected behavior in general?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. So with Class Dojo, I love how you can set a specific feedback. So if I'm giving a student a point, I make sure I'm saying, thank you for following directions. Thank you for being safe. Thank you for being a kind friend. So trying to just make it as specific as possible so that they understand how they're earning those points. Also, those points at the end of the day, they get turned into what we call Panther Cash. So every Friday we cash in, and they can either save up, they get an extra $1 for saving up, making a wise decision, or they can buy things with me like lunch with the teacher, use the teacher's chair, bring a stuffed animal. So there's a lot of fun things that they enjoy earning those points because they know it can get them somewhere.
And you can communicate with parents through this app too, right?
Yes. Yeah, I love the parent communication. And so parents can see, is my child having a good day? Are they following directions? And also just posting pictures and comments about what we're doing in school. The parents really like to hear that.
Yeah, it's just like I've said to you many times, because I've heard it from Evan Robb and heard from Aaron Scheninger and others. If we don't tell our stories, somebody else will. So we might as well make sure we're telling the right one. That's the real benefit of being able to communicate. Not the only way you communicate with parents either. You're a Seesaw ambassador. Why don't you go ahead and explain what is Seesaw and what are some ways that you use it with your elementary school students?
Yeah, so I love Seesaw. I started it last year, started using it. And so it's a communication tool with parents. I use it more as an online portfolio. So I use Class Dojo for communication, and then for student or for parents to see their child's work, I use Seesaw. So on Seesaw, you can record videos, you can record their voice, take pictures, write or sort, use labels. So there's a lot of good uses for it. I use it the most for exit tickets. So especially in math, instead of printing a whole big worksheet, students can just do one problem that it shows me. Okay, do they know it? Do they not know it? I can look at it right away. I can also hear them explaining how they got it. So it really shows me on a deeper level whether they understand the topic or not.
So of all the wins that you have with Seesaw, what do you think is your largest win or your biggest success story behind using it?
I think even just student confidence. I had a student come in at the beginning of the year. She was even crying at the beginning of school, just nervous about the transition. And she has since really blossomed, especially with Seesaw. You can tell because in the beginning of the year, she really didn't want to record. She wasn't sure about reading the different words, even on her spelling during Seesaw. But now she is really flourishing with it. She can show me what she knows. She's not afraid to record. And so I'm really proud of her progress. And that's documented through Seesaw. So parents and I and anybody else who's looking at her progress throughout the year can see, wow, she really gained confidence this year.
Yeah, do you ever have students go back or ever even thought about having students go all the way back to the beginning of the year once they get to the end of the year just to see, look at the growth that I have had over the course of this year? I know you just started introducing it, I think January or maybe a little bit
last
before.
year. I started it in January.
Yeah.
January. So this year I definitely could do that. I do that when we're reading. I can show them books that, okay, this is the book you started reading to me, and then to where they are now, and they're like, wow, I didn't know I made that progress, So
yeah, you see that big change, and it's really exciting. And speaking of reading and your love of reading, you just graduated with your master's this past spring, summer. It's the weird positioning between those two seasons. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about your program, what you went through, and maybe some of your early takeaways now that you have graduated from that program as well.
Yeah, so I did it online through Regent University. I really liked being able to take it online. I hadn't taken online classes before, but it was great for having a flexible schedule. The last semester, so that was last fall, I did an internship through Regent, through my school. So instead of having planning time or having time before in the morning before school, I was tutoring students and working one-on-one with them with the guidance of my reading specialist at school or reading coach.
Yeah.
And so that was really great. That's probably where I learned the most because it was hands-on experience. I was really seeing student progress and how to help enhance that student progress. So,
and LB enjoyed the experience of being able to go and do this. I didn't enjoy it that much. It left me with doing more dishes, cooking and cleaning.
It's quite stressful.
Yeah, very fortunately, the smoke detector only went off a couple of times. So very thankful for that. But now you have your master's. You're able to go out and be a reading specialist. You're currently still in the classroom. If there's a teacher watching this right now and they're thinking, how can I help a student fall in love with reading? What are things that you personally do with your kids to help them love reading?
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons I want to be a reading specialist. There is the literacy coach position out there, but the reading specialist position works more with students. And so I like that because you can encourage just that student love of learning. So in my classroom, I love giving my students a chance to pick their books. So every Friday we trade in the books in their book box. They can pick a few new books. And that way, when they're reading independently, they have some books on their level that we use in guided reading. And then they have some just fun books that they enjoy reading about. So that's one way. And then also just encouraging students. So showing them that progress from the beginning of the year, saying, wow, you really know, you've learned all these sight words and you're becoming a better reader. So also just picking funny books sometimes. They appreciate that.
Absolutely, I bet. You recently had a lot of success. LB very excitedly texted me after having her students complete a DRA and talked about some growth there. Do you want to speak to that a little bit? Maybe a quick humble brag.
So the DRA stands for Developmental Reading Assessment.
I did not know that before just now.
And so it really tracks student progress. So in first grade, we really have a big jump. So we have to get them from a DRA level 4, where they were at the end of kindergarten, all the way to a DRA 16 is the expectation. So really almost all of my kids were at that level right now where they need to be in the middle of the year. It's even a range, so it's 8 to 10, and they're at 10. So I was really excited to see that progress and able to work more on comprehension instead of that decoding now that we've gotten that out of the way. So yeah, it was really exciting.
So if you need to remediate with some students, like let's say there were some kids that they take this and maybe they needed to be at an 8 to 10, they were at a 6. What are some remediation tools or strategies that you have to support the students?
Well, that's a good question. Also, just going back to the elementary school thing too, I think we work with our students more in small groups than in whole groups, especially than middle school or high school. So we have that opportunity to be able to differentiate better. So most of my day is made up of guided reading groups and word study groups. So through word study, we can be reviewing and working on those patterns to help them with their decoding. So really thinking of the blends that they can use to be able to chunk the words. And then in guided reading, we work on different strategies. So I usually give them a bookmark of the different strategies that we have, like Chunky Monkey, where you chunk the word, Flippy the Dolphin, where you flip the vowel sound if the first one isn't working, Stretchy the Snake, where you stretch it out. So there's just a lot of strategies that you can relate to them when they have the animals too.
Sure.
They can know, okay, if this strategy doesn't work, then I need to try this one, just teaching them when it's a good strategy to use.
A part of that too is how you set up your classroom culture. If you have a really positive culture, you'll typically find kids that are willing to put forth that effort. And if they fall short, instead of them looking at it as a defeat, they can take that as a challenge. How do you try to build a really positive classroom culture? I have the opportunity every time that my school division is on spring break, I get to go read to her class one day. And as cheesy as it sounds, it's a day that I look forward to every year. I spend a lot of time figuring out, which book do I want to bring in for them? What skill do I want to teach to them? And what's something that's going to make them laugh? And every time I come in, the kids are smiling and they are loving class. So how do you do that? How do you help them love learning so much?
I think just that encouragement, just that positive community. So even just having them encourage one another. Like I really have an encouraging class this year. And so even today we were out at recess. 3 boys were trying to do the rock climbing wall and they were cheering each other on. They're like, don't look down. It's okay. You can do it. So just seeing that and having them encourage one another really helps because you can't encourage all of your kids at one time, or they might not get what they need from you, but they could get it from a friend. So yeah, really encouraging that positive community.
Recess is a great time for them to be able to do that. Lunch is a great time for them to do that. I know that whenever you and I were going to school, although I don't really think it happened to us, a discipline, a consequence was taking recess away. It seems like the educational sphere has looked at this practice and has kind of questioned its validity. What are your thoughts on that, on the role of recess and play, especially for first graders, but just thinking of kids in general?
Yeah, definitely just a social interaction for sure. That's when a student comes up to us and there's a problem, it's a social interaction. So, so-and-so is not being kind, so-and-so isn't including me. So that's definitely a part they get from recess. And just from my first year, we did have, some students who had to sit out of part of recess. But now we don't have any unless they're not being safe, then they sit out for maybe a minute or two and we have a conversation with them. But it's never taking away a good chunk of recess because they do need that time to run around. And we know that scientifically it's important for them to get that exercise and it helps recharge their brain a little bit for the next thing. So, yeah.
And, if they're sitting in a classroom behind a desk the entire time during recess, I struggle and shiver to think about what they're going to be like around 1 or 2 o'clock. Whenever the energy is really like itching to get out of them. I don't know. I sometimes am curious to see if there are educators who do that today, if they have a really strong justifiable answer to use that as a regular practice in elementary education. Me being a middle school educator, I know that I like to take my kids whenever we leave from lunch. We like to go and take the outside path just to give them some time to run, stretch their legs, and breathe in some fresh air. And I have found that that's helped me get through the second half of the day, or the second half of that block in particular, after they're feeling really hyped up and excited from their favorite time of day, lunchtime. So, hey, we talked about a lot of stuff today, LB. We have talked about elementary education. We've talked about a lot of cool ed techs. We talked about Class Dojo and Seesaw in there, communicating with parents, positive culture, being a reading specialist. How do you help your students fall in love with reading, and a positive classroom culture and the role of recess and play in the lives of students? We are starting to get to the time where we are almost to the end of our show, which means it is time for our high fives. LB is somebody who listens to these interviews while you're upstairs and I'm downstairs filming. You know how these work. 5 questions totally unrelated to education, just to help our viewers get to know you a little better.
And he would not give me the questions ahead of time.
No cheating, no cheating. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. First one. These are all pretty much around winter and Christmas time. It's our favorite time of year, in case you can't tell. Colored lights or white lights?
White lights. So Phil already knows this. So we compromised when we got married. We have colored lights outside and white lights inside.
It's been a good compromise. I should also clarify, the tree behind us right now is an artificial one, and we have a real one upstairs. We'll get to that question in a second, too. 2, favorite snow day activity?
Ooh. Well, I love shoveling, which is probably unusual. We'll never have a snowblower, to Phil's dismay. But I also love curling up with a good book. I have trouble reading during the school year because I like to read all in one sitting. I have to finish the book. So the snow day gives me a good chance to read, not in the summer. Finish the book.
I always like catching ahead on planning. Nerd, but
yeah, if we have more than one.
yeah, yeah, we're big snow day fans too. It's something about the unexpected day off, and there's people that talk about virtual learning days, and I'm almost like, kind of ruin
the day off.
Yeah, it ruins the point of it. It lets kids be kids, and you can listen to my podcast about that episode if you want to at any time as well. 3, real or artificial trees?
Real tree.
Real trees.
Of course.
And
smells the best.
Not a fast 5 or a high 5 question. Favorite kind of tree?
The Douglas fir.
Yeah, that's our go-to whenever we go out shopping. And whenever I say shopping, I mean we go out with a saw and we cut it down at one of the tree farms. 4, eggnog. Yay or nay?
Boo.
Yeah, and so what is it about the eggnog? Is it the texture? Is it the flavor?
I don't drink milk, so eggnog tastes like milk to me.
Yeah.
I just think it's a weird taste.
A little bit too strong, right?
Yeah.
And 5, best Christmas present you have ever given?
Oh, see, I needed this question ahead of time. I got a hamster from Santa Claus one year. That was pretty special. He came in a pink cage, and I named him Charlie. I had another hamster afterwards, but he wasn't quite as cool. Charlie was a really good hamster.
So then what was the best one you gave?
Oh, the one I gave. I'm sorry, I heard it wrong.
That's okay.
Well, I gave you a keyboard a couple years ago.
Yes.
That was a pretty cool gift.
I was very excited about that too. I've always wanted to learn to play piano. So cool. And I can play some show tunes now. I've got Star Wars down pat, but
of course.
Yeah. But hopefully someday I can make a symphony, make music with it. Well, hey, it's been a lot of fun having you on. Any last words of wisdom, counsel, advice for people watching the show right now?
Well, as Evendale Panthers say, be kind, be responsible, be the best you can be.
All right, great. Well, hey, I hope that you've really enjoyed having LB and me on. It has been a really fun season of Edusations, and I'm sad to see season 1 end, but I'm very excited for what's around the corner with season 2. So be sure to check out this upcoming spring when Edusations season 2 starts to post. If you or somebody you know are interested in being on Edusations, you can very easily sign up by going to philstrunk.com/contact. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.